have two recommendations here. We urge higher music education institutions to include a member of the student body to join examination juries, especially entrance exams.
I would like to ask what joining means in this term. Like, is it joining for sitting, looking, judging, discussing? What would
so
be
in
the
other words,
responsibility and
participate. The word would be participate. If they would be part of the jury, they would be participate.
And how
The word would be participate.
imagine that what qualifications these students have, for instance? How the students would be able not to judge? How would they
I don't know who made this recommendation, but whoever did make the recommendation, was your intention that the student participate as a full-blown member of the jury? Was that the intention? Whoever wrote this sentence?
Yeah.
Yes, Mrs. Manheim. Okay.
So we have this rule already in place for entrance exams, that a student sits in and judges with the jury to decide and to give insights on what, because we do popular music, right, we don't do classical, to give insights on what new trends the students might be achieving and why he might be a good fit for the university.
Who qualified the student? How do you choose the student? How does the student get knowledge to be able to judge?
The students are chosen by their instruments and their knowledge overall. So if we have the jury for the bass examination, the students will be a bass player who has studied for a certain amount of time and knows the uni and the requirements. And that's how we choose them.
Okay, so this explanation is one that is also connected to the nature of your institution. And so it's a question that may be posed for classical institutions. Alexandra?
Constance is going to
She's
make the
getting her
10,000
exercise.
steps today.
Yeah, for me it has two concerns. First, for some students, maybe they don't want other students to listen to them and to other students to listen to the discussion and know their marks.
This is for entrance exams.
Yeah, but then they go into study with them, some of them. Other concerns is, a little bit like Pavel said, it can be controversial with the point we've already discussed, that jury members, should be qualified, like have both pedagogical and performance experience. It is controversial. So I'm not like completely against of this. I like this idea, but it can be slippery. Yeah.
Can we have more comments? Vanessa?
Yes. Maybe the student cannot judge, but he can explain because he know the student, the other students, and can hold information about. I don't know if the student didn't play like.
En français.
D'habitude.
Quoi?
Comme d'habitude.
As usual. As we usually played. As usually played.
As usually. So the student is in the jury to hold the defense, pour apporter une défense.
Oh, to defend him.
Yes.
Okay.
Text.
Can we clarify? I'm not sure whether I've understood what you meant. So.
I think in the context, like you can say, this person usually does better.
Yeah, basically the student is there to say, I know the student, but they might not know everybody who's applying. So, Rebecca.
In Malmö, we do have for the nation exams student representatives in the jury, but only for, monitor the process. So it's a fair discussion and stuff like that, not to judge at all.
Okay, so has everybody understood that this is really a question of what the role of the student is?
Yes.
Whether the student is making an artistic judgment or just there to ensure that the process is a fair and equitable process? Yes.
Yeah, well, we in Graz, we have, if wanted, we have open auditions, so the students can listen to the auditions of the other students. But
Is this for entrance examinations?
yes, so sometimes they ask if they could join the audition, and so of course they can join. This is no problem. But the entrance audition is a relation between the guy who is auditioning for the professor who is taking him, in a way. This is and finally, after the decision that the student comes to one professor, he is responsible for the career of this student, and the professor has to decide if he can be able or is able or capable to take this responsibility or not. So if somebody says, yeah, you should take him because he is good, this is not his decision, this is my decision.
Okay, so there are two different topics that are being addressed here. Yes.
I have to say that I'm quite surprised with that recommendation, with that statement. Probably I have to think about it more, because I have never thought about it. But my first impression is that for sure the teachers are talking and using different language between each other, discussing the students, and you talk to the student differently than you talk to other teacher. Because of the psychology and because of the development, young people are very often very fragile, and you must be very gentle with them. And when you talk to other teacher, you can be more direct and specify the problem in different way. So I don't think it would be very pedagogical for a student to be in the jury.
Okay, so I just want to clarify that we've had explanations from institutions where this exists, and one explanation would be that the student role is to ensure that the process is a fair process, and that the student is there to ensure, as a representative of the students, that the process has been fairly, the student is not intervening artistically. As I understand it, that's what Malmö is doing. They don't have an artistic voice, but they have a voice, and they're there to just be sure that the process is a fair process. Mannheim.
Well, I'd say students should have an artistic voice, but not a vote maybe. But it's important to get the students' opinion, because if it's just in the end one person who decides, why are we talking about power relations since 2 years when it's in the end one person who decides? This is why we try to include students and to get their opinions. It's not about that a student votes and decides on whether a student is taken or not, but if professors are discussing about who could be taken, there could be the opinion of a student saying, well, but keep in mind, there's something new coming up, or you forgot about to talk about this. It's about to include young people, young students, the ones who are studying there, to get their opinion, so that they also can take influence on the way the university is going on, the way how everything is designed. So I don't think that we should kick out students in this process.
I think that there's another issue here, which also it depends on institutions, where in some institutions you know that there's only one choice if you're going to be performing a certain instrument, where there's only one teacher, so that it's only that teacher that you could study with. But in many institutions, you just say, is this of a standard that we would accept? And then the student chooses the professor or the professor.
But also classical students have an opinion, I guess.
Yeah, I'm just making a distinction. I'm just saying that there are some different situations, yeah.
Yeah, I agree. I think it's an interesting proposition, and I agree that I think it really does depend on the type of music it's being taught in the institution. And I do think if I personally, as a student, if the students are included, I like the way that Maru is doing it to kind of ensure that everything is going in a orderly manner. But I also agree that when it comes to classical music, you do go to a, if it's an instrument type of thing, the relationship between the one student and the teacher you're going for is very important. Because you're not really auditioning mostly for the whole institution. You are also choosing as a student with who you want to work with. And I think that's a nuanced thing that is very important. And I'm not sure, I think it's not applicable to all the courses, because if you then study, for example, theory or something like that, it's also a completely different situation. So I think making it a broad statement that should be applicable to all process for entrance exams for all institutions is slightly difficult or tricky. I don't know.
So why don't you talk about folk now or something? Yeah. Lawrence.
I would suggest we change the word join into anything different, like observe or whatever, since I think we somehow, that's my suggestion. And I
So
don't,
what
I just
would you,
want to say that
what would you
observe the exams, like the normal, I think that,
be present at entrance examinations?
I just wanted to say that in our institution, this process is kept this way that everyone can listen to any exam, but of course they cannot stay afterwards and listen to the jury discussion. But this process starts when you become a PhD candidate. This is the moment that the chamber of whatever instrument you are involved or whatever kind of music, they get you involved in the process of exams, that you are present in the exams from the beginning till the end, and then you start having your own opinion. You still cannot judge in terms of a legal term, but you can tell your artistic opinion about the performance, and this way you are getting slowly educated about judging, because I think that the process of getting to know how to judge someone's performance in terms of academic judging, it's a long process that you got to learn as well. And I think that, of course, there must be a moment for that, and I think that students are not really able to judge the way the professors are yet.
So I'm just going to reiterate some of the things that we've heard, so that everybody's on the same page. There's a question. I mean, I think about things for the point. I think we have one important point about whether the student is qualified to judge. And on the one hand, we have a question that it's a process of learning, or that it's up to the main instrument teacher, because that's the relationship that's being built. And on the other hand, or whether they can learn it, and on the and on the other hand, whether including how important including a student voice is. I think that's that we have a question about qualifications and the relationship with the teacher, and then we have also the voice of the student as a general process in striking a balance with power relations. I just wanted to note, I heard something in the back in terms of a comment like, can a student do that? Remember what Susanne van Elsen said, like about language that's being used in judging a student. Susanne van Elsen said also something about that in the video. So I just noticed that and I wanted to point that out.
Go on.
Two more.
Yeah.
I would like just to add that in the same time, I'm a student in Musikhochschulen in Spain and teacher in Conservatoires in France. And I think it's very important to include a student in the jury. Maybe not for judge, but to have a look to the way of the function, the fonctionnement.
The functioning.
No. The functionality of the jury, to have a way totally impartial with
neutral, impartial.
Yeah, neutral and impartial.
Impartial, because I think it's a way to help the student.
I'm just reiterating what you're saying. Did I understand correctly that you mean that a student in a jury could help with getting an impartial and neutral process, that they could help check that? Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
Okay.
To listen, to have a look, to mainly to
intervene. Okay. Yeah.
Column?
Not to make
Artistic judgment.
Artistic judgment.
Okay.
Yeah. All right. So that's one of the voices that we have. Does the student monitor? Does he judge, or is he not present at all? Those are the three options we have so far. Colin.
I'm just wondering, do we need to include this at all? Because I think for the academies and institutions that have a student on the jury, and that's working well for them, that's great. But for the institutions that don't, I don't think it's that much of an issue, and I don't think it really affects the power balance that much where it's not present. And if we're talking about artistic standards and the student isn't really making an artistic decision, is it really that necessary that we need to make a recommendation based on this?
In front.
It's me, I'm sorry. I just want to say something. You said that we talk about the voice of a student in this jury. In my opinion, it's when we talk about power relation. In my opinion, it's a good chance for the students that they learn our process, how we involve them in a judge process when we take students, and this is why we are here, because I want to give the students the chance that they know how I decide to take one student and the other. I don't take the other student, for example, and why. And so this is like a feedback, this is like a communication they know, and they know our communication. And this is why I'm here, for example, because of this power problem we have. And so, in my opinion, the students, they are very thankful that they are involved what we are talking about.
So, just to be clear, are you seeing, do you see the student as having an artistic voice or just witnessing?
Both.
So, both witnessing and having an artistic voice, okay?
I think that the point you're making is right in the sense that it's right to involve the student in the examination process and the evaluation process, and to let them know, which is basically what we were discussing before. So getting feedback from students and let them knowing, to let them know that why how you do your assessments. This is right. But I don't think that a student, even if I think it's right to involve them and maybe just participate in an exam and just see how it works, I don't think that a student is impartial, because it's not in the position of being neutral. He's not neutral as a student, and even a teacher is not partial. So I know. It's the same. I know. So I think that the balance of power, we should talk about it. But I don't think that in the judgment a student could be involved just because of the fact that it's not partial.
I'm going to actually step in and be very bossy, and that is, we've spent 25 minutes discussing this. We see that there are very different points of view, and we have a recommendation here. So at this point, we have not changed that recommendation. So I'm going to ask for a vote on the recommendation that we have as it stands. Okay? We urge higher music education institutions to include a member of the student body in joining examination juries, especially entrance exams.
So in joining?
Examination juries, especially for entrance exams. So can I have a vote? Who approves of this, who feels that this is a recommendation we need to put out as part of our overall recommendations that will be going to the AEC?
The way it is now.
The way it is now.
Yeah. Raise your hand if you want this to be a recommendation. 1, Raise your hand high. High, high, high.
I've got 7. Yes.
7.
7. All right. Then
we're going to just look at the second.
no. Sorry.
Oh, then we're going to take all these others.
Yeah, we have to see with the amendments that were discussed.
What are we voting about? Sorry.
Yeah. So I mean, yeah. So basically, so the what we got 7 vote about is that we have for the original statements slightly rephrased, but in the student body to joining the examination juries, that would be to judge artistically and to monitor the process. Like it's a dual role. That's what we've just voted about. No, you can't accept it. So we had 7. We had 7 votes to keep it like that. So that's judging artistically and or monitoring, observing. So that got 7 votes, which means it's not accepted. We have another proposal where the student is in the room there to monitor or observe the process. So we would need to clarify that in the phrasing, but the proposal is now we urge institutions to include a member of the student body to observe the process. We'll rephrase it in a way that works, but that's the general gist of that. Can we see your hands for whether if that's something that you can live with, if it's something that you agree with? Okay. Please raise your hand, like stretch your arm.
High, 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 high.
Okay. Okay, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21? 21. So let's repeat we will repeat this, but what we just did. So we want a student in examination juries to observe the process. Not make artistic judgments, but observe the process. Okay, I'm going to redo the vote.
About clarification, shouldn't we add, is it about just music being when the scene, shouldn't it be clarified, is it about student member just being during the making music, or during making music and
the entire process? I mean,
maybe we should then clarify it, because for me it's not quite obvious right now. Is it about, for me, examination means like exam, not
I mean, basically we would go for the Malmö method. So that means, if I understood correctly, observe and monitor the process, both of the exam itself and of the process in judging.
A question. This is just one student who has this position to observe. It's an open to all students, and all can discuss it.
It's an appointed one.
Yeah,
exactly. Well, those are practicalities that we will get in later.
60 students. How to choose the one to get the exam? It's like it's distribution.
This is not going to be. We're not going to.
I'm sorry, we're going to stop. Okay,
Stop. If you really want information on this, you can talk to our colleagues from Malmö who have instituted this system. Right now, we're asking on principle.
On principle. This is not about practical implications, and not so much. Remember, we're imagining an ideal situation, right? Of course, everybody's going to implement things differently, but it's about imagining whether it's about the principle of whether you want a student present in a jury at the exam itself and in the process. So that's slightly changing what we have. Okay, I'm now we are actually gonna repeat we're gonna do the vote again. So who thinks that students should be allowed in the examination to observe the process, both of the performance as well of the discussion, the deliberation afterwards? Okay, who can live with that? Who thinks that's a good idea? Okay, keep your hand up for a while. 19. Okay, we have 19. Okay. And then we have the third. The third proposal is to delete this recommendation altogether, just to not put it anywhere there. It's up to, I mean, whatever system you choose, it's up to the institution. So we remove this recommendation. Show of hands of who wants to remove this. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. I have 16. Yeah, I have 16. Okay. So to see, I mean, I have now the following outcome. So the currently written statement, as it is now, we have 7 votes for, and so that's not going to make it. To allow students to observe and monitor the process, we have 19 that can live with that, and we have 16 votes to really remove this statement.
Maybe we should just now leave it down to the vice chair.
Yeah, exactly. So that means it's either going to be observed or we're going to delete it. And actually, I'm a bit lost now on whether, because the numbers are quite close to each other. So I'm not sure whether we should retake the vote with the last 2 options.
That's what I'm suggesting.
Yeah.
So we're going to now vote on 2 possibilities.
I'm sorry, can we please first write the exact statement we're voting on, because it's so confusing if there's the old statement written on the board, nobody knows what they're voting for.
Joining examination to observe the
and monitor
the
process.
Yes. The fairness of the process or the process?
The
process. If we formulate it like this.
Delete the others.
Yeah, delete all the points.
Thank you.
No, all of the points below.
No, I need to keep it.
It's just for her notes. Just put them.
Yeah, but maybe.
Separate. Yeah. Separate. Yeah.
Okay. We're going to come back to this voting. We urge higher music education institutions to include a member of the student body in joining examination juries to observe and monitor the process.
Especially entrance exams.
Yeah, well, then we could put in joining entrance examination juries to observe and monitor.
No, I mean, they want it all.
Okay, especially entrance exams. Who agrees with this?
Okay.
Who wants this to be included? Raise your hands high.
The second one?
So, number 18.
18. Okay. Oh, now people are lifting their hand. Start, okay, everybody lift their hand high.
Like 19. Okay. We have 19.
Okay, now we have a vote to eliminate this recommendation. No recommendation with this on this topic. Who wants to eliminate this recommendation? What?
Sorry. Talking Dutch.
Yeah.
19 as well. So it's 50-50. Congratulations on it. So, yeah. So, because we don't get a full majority, we have a rule. We've explained this before. Is that if there's a minority report of more than 50%, we can include it. So I would suggest that we would include this recommendation as a minority report. Say, a certain percentage of our assembly thought that this was a good idea, a certain percentage thought it wasn't. And then we leave it up to the reader to decide. So that's going to be then the process. So we are going to include this recommendation as the minority report. That's the technical term. But as you can see, that's when a particular group has serious concerns with the recommendation, you can always nuance it. So this is our way to nuance it, because clearly it's very tricky because we're 50-50. So that's how we're going to deal with it. All right? Okay, we're going to move on to the next.
And then just, this is another recommendation relative to students. We urge higher music education institutions to implement the possibility of assessments being delivered with students present.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
It's the same thing.
Basically the same thing.
Yeah.
Okay. Do you agree to move on?
Yeah.
Yes? Okay.
Taking the examination, we recommend the introduction of performance classes at all institutions to enable cross-faculty feedback from both tutors and students. Is this something that people feel strongly about?
I would maybe try to change it to performance opportunities and not classes, because it sounds like it's another course or another thing you are being judged on, and it influences your mark. When I think this recommendation is more about instilling confidence within performing students.
What does cross-faculty mean?
Different disciplines, cross-disciplines. Anya?
Sorry, but this was our group yesterday that came up with this. So basically, cross-faculty means that it's not just your own teacher, it's the other teachers across the faculty for the same subject, for the same instrument, yes.
Okay.
That will also have an input. It's, in Dublin, it's like a kind of masterclass scenario almost, that you've got the rest of your classmates watching and 2 or 3 people will sing. And for each different speciality, let's say in voice, you have English art song or German meter, each one will have a different teacher, and you'll get the feedback from your teacher and also your classmates in the classroom and see what it's like. Yes, it is another module, but that gives you performance opportunities, and it also lets you hear maybe a song that you might haven't got the opportunity to do yourself, but you hear someone else doing it and hear what people give the input is. So it's you get a lot more feedback.
So, in other words, this is really a class. It's really a module. Performance modules, we could call it. Can I ask for, yes?
Isn't that just the same thing we were just discussing then? Because if they give feedback, they're not obviously in the grading, but they're still in the examination and they're giving feedback.
No, it's not an examination. It's not an examination.
Oh, it's not an exam. Okay.
No.
There's classes without exams or something. You were there.
Can we just have a vote on this? Can we have a vote on this? Because we have about, we're going to try and finish it by 1. How many people feel this is an important recommendation that we need to include?
Can you do higher? Sorry.
Please lift your hands.
Like, unless there's... I have 19.
Yeah, I have 19.
That's 9. I have 19, which means it's in theory that would be 50-50 because we just have 19.
So who does not want this? Who does not want this? Who does not want this recommendation to be included? Raise your hand.
Yeah, I think. Yeah, it seems like
we're gonna keep going right now. Now we have a sort of generic statement. We encourage higher music education institutions to provide regular opportunities for students to get feedback from teachers and fellow students throughout the study course. These are variations on the theme.
It's already
covered.
Okay. We urge higher music education institutions to institute self-assessment by students as well as student assessment of fellow students as part of ongoing artistic assessment. That could be rephrased. It's a little bit assessment heavy. But.
It's basically allowing other students to...
So it's basically saying that you integrate student self-assessment and assessment by fellow students.
I think if we keep 20, this one is covered.
Okay. So that doesn't seem to... Are we going to keep moving here? Yes. We urge higher music education institutions to facilitate students performing their final recital for a professor other than their own prior to the final examination taking place. Are there people who feel this is strongly about this?
I have comments or questions. Or nothing important.
Okay. I'm going to just keep moving. Resources. We recommend higher music education institutions access discounts to, well, this was for the St. Louis. This is a very specific situation. This has to be reworded, but students failing a course.
This could be a minority report also, because
it's really very minority.
Yeah,
I think we need to write it better.
I think we should. I would want it in, but it doesn't concern me or most of us.
Right. So, do people agree that this might be a minority statement?
Okay.
Because there's like private university.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is it related to the topic? How is it related to?
So the question is, how is it related to the topic?
I think it's socioeconomic. It's related to the question of
whether you can afford
socioeconomic access.
Yeah.
So, do we want to go back to see what we've actually chosen here?
If we've chosen anything. So we've gone quite quickly through the last one. I think the first one we've actually voted on. The rest we decided to kind of skip. The 23rd we haven't actually voted on, and the 23rd is kind of different. It's about 20 we voted on, that has been accepted with 19. 21 and 22 is in a way covered by the others. That's what we said. That's what I've heard. Yeah. 23. We didn't have a lot of questions about this one, but we also haven't voted about this one. So I'm just going to ask by the way of a raise of hands. So a raise of hands means that you want it in, and if you don't vote, that can either mean that you don't want it in general because it's not important to you, or because you disagree. We can see like that. But now, at the moment, I want to see, is statement 23 important to you as it is now? I'm going to read it out. We urge institutions to facilitate students performing their final recital for a professor other than their own prior to the final examination taking place. So who finds this important and wants this in our recommendations? Raise of hands.
Hi.
Hi. Stretch your arm. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. We have 18 votes. Now I want to see whether people don't want it, like you don't want it in, or you disagree with the statement. There's a raise of hands. Who disagrees? Who doesn't want it in? We have 12. So that means that this one is accepted. And I didn't see any important questions, so I'm assuming that this is going to stay as it is then. Alright, so this one is accepted. And then the proposal for the 24th statement, this is the last statement, and then we'll go back to all the artistic standard statements and see if the picture, resonates with us. And then we're done and we're going to have lunch. The last statement, it's about discounts, about private universities. It applies to some of us, and the question is, do we want to include this as a minority report? Or want to specify? I have two options, actually. I've heard it without the mic. So either it's that we specify for private universities, or option 2, that we include it as a minority report. Or is it both, actually? I'm not sure. No, not one. Okay, so option 1 is to add, I have to look at the phrasing, but to say for we recommend private, I'm just gonna, private access to discounts. So that would be the proposal. So that's option 1. I'll make it bold so that you can see that it's extra. So this would be the recommendation do we want this recommendation in our recommendations when the word private is, when it's clear that it's about private institutions? I'm looking at Gretchen because you're and fond of and native English speaker rather than I am.
It's not well written.
Yeah. I have a question here actually.
Do we need to have the 60%? It's very, specific, and the larger.
All right.
Maybe,
All right.
So then does anybody feel very strongly about the 60%? No. Okay, I'm gonna.
When we discussed it, the suggestion, up to 60%, but it doesn't need to be that specific.
Okay. I'm gonna remove it. I'm just gonna take that executive position. So what we now have is the statement 24, where it's clear that it's about private institutions.
It would be provide discounts.
May I add something?
Yeah.
Could we remove this from here and put it into
Assembly 3?
And also, I think there's a word missing, provide access.
It's a good idea.
Or any other.
Provide, yeah, I was just going to say provide access. Well,
Yeah.
For retaking. Take course.
Something like this? Like this?
Yes. Retaking courses.
Do you have any from the IRS that has a formulation?
It has to be changed. But can we work on it? Can we just have this idea of it? that we would urge private institutions to provide discounts for students who have to retake a course because they failed it to avoid study dropout. So that this would go into the Assembly 3 recommendations, which has to do with socioeconomic access.
Yes. Okay. Social, like.
So can you trust that we will formulate this better?
Yes.
Sorry.
All right. And just to make it official, can we, like, I saw a lot of nodding, but I need hands. Thank you. Yeah, and 23.
Wow.
All right, so that brings us to the final. I'm now going to hand over the mic to Gretchen for a bit, and then I'm going to copy paste it to the top, and then we're going to see what are our final recommendations for artistic standards.
Right, because as you know, in as much as possible, we're trying to limit the number of recommendations to make them that much more powerful, and really look at what are the absolutely most critical recommendations we would like to make. So I have to wait for.
Sorry. Did I miss anyone?
Yeah, you have the minority reports.
Okay.
We have 10 minutes, and with a little luck, we will. Yes. I can't hear you. Where's the mic? Somebody pass the mic?
Sorry. Sorry.
Who needs it?
Just on the last one there, where you're removing the one about receiving a discount if they fail their exams, so receiving a discount on taking the course in the following year.
Yeah.
and moving it to Assembly 3 and socioeconomic.
Right.
I don't think it's that clear cut. Students would have to be means tested. If that can't be an umbrella de facto, they can't all receive that discount, because you're going to have very wealthy families as well benefiting from the same discount. And if a student fails an exam, they might just fail an exam because they didn't do enough or work hard enough or apply themselves, and then they're nearly being rewarded, and here's another chance, and we're also going to discount your fees.
So are you suggesting that it's for students in need or something like that?
I think it would have to be very specifically defined, and I think there would have to be very definite means testing or markers for how you determine who should benefit from it.
Yeah. Okay, well, for now, we're just going to go back to the top of the artistic standards and see if you agree with what we have chosen. We recommend that institutions, higher music education institutions, introduce and implement a clear system of assessment criteria made available to students, teachers, and examiners. Yes? Yes? Okay. We recommend that each institution implement a systematic examination approach with documented feedback feed forward, delivered in a balanced and constructive way. Yes? Yes. Okay. We suggest establishing an institutional forum dedicated to assessment in all its aspects. The forum's work should be transparent and disseminated throughout the institution.
Yeah.
We recommend, where external examiners are appointed, they be suitably qualified with a proven track record in education as well as performance. We urge higher music education institutions to facilitate students performing their final recital for a professor other than their own prior to the final examination taking place. I mean, I'm just wondering if this could be amended to where, because if there's only one professor, how do you? Was this a minority? I think this was a minority. I think this was a minority report.
Is it? I mean, is it very important to people? Or?
Is this very important? Do you feel like this is,
This is should
if this is not in here, we're just going to die? That's terrible. Okay, so this is more like a minority recommendation.
Minority recommendation?
Who believes this is important? Please raise your hand.
The number 5. Who thinks this is important? Who wants to keep this in? No, did I miss copy paste it? That's possible. I think
it was 18 to 20. It can be like a minority proposition.
But I mean, if it's a minority, we have to know who the minority is. Who actually wants this to be included as a minority report?
I have 16 here. Yeah, 16.
And last but not least, we urge higher music education institutions to include a member of the student body in joining examination juries to observe and monitor the process, especially for entrance exams. And this was a minority report with 50 to 60%. 50. So, yes?
What about performance classes in there? I actually.
What?
There's one missing about performance class.
Oh, sorry.
Yes.
I lost it while copying pasting. Where are they?
Yeah, there it is. Yeah. Yeah, that was voted.
Yeah.
So it's performance, just with it's performance class and not opportunity, or both.
Class.
Okay, we recommend the introduction of performance classes at all institutions to enable cross-faculty feedback from both tutors and students? And I see a show of hands.
Yeah, we're done. Yeah. Yeah. Great. Paul, do we want to come back to this one, or is it?
We didn't agree it in our group because it wasn't.
So this final recommendation about discounting, we have our colleague from Ireland who said, I think quite justly, that this can't be just for everybody, that for demonstrated students with demonstrated need, or
It should
be made available to students.
Should we specify it? Thanks.
Access, provide access to discounts. I mean, is that
Provide. I just take discounts. Provide discounts, or if the student demonstrates clear financial need. Right.
student that express clear need, or
no, that demonstrate clear financial need to retake
discounts? I think
this actually needs a little work, but I'm feeling very tired. Sorry.
Could that be something we can, like the last time we did it, like in emails, where we then voted for the options, or do we have to formulate this now?
Well, we could. We have the feeling to do it in person, because as we can see, I mean, it's much more tiring, but it's also much more engaging. So sometimes when we got votes from you, we weren't sure whether everybody had a chance to say something what they wanted to say, and whether we got the right discussion with also the option to really agree and disagree, which is harder on Zoom. So that's why we try to do it now. If there's a serious concern about any of these, then we can come back to you by email, or we can just, do you know what? I mean, it's 1, we're gonna have lunch. I'm gonna ask the Assembly Working Group members to come to the front, so because again we can discuss what we will do with the rest of the program. And then we can also say how we're gonna come back to this final one that we don't really agree on, right? I mean, I'm thinking out loud here, so I'm just looking at my sides whether people are okay with this. Yeah, I think we've worked really, really hard. Also, much more like in a different way than like improvised, also in a bit of a chaotic way. So that everybody have to take a break, and then we'll formulate our thoughts, and then we'll come back to you. And we may, don't go too far, I would say, because maybe we need to speed it up.
A photo?
We may, we're going to discuss. We want to take a group picture as well, probably right after that. So I mean, just get lunch and don't like go inside, but don't wander around Rome, please. And because then we have a chance to call you back if needed for the next session, if we want to start slightly early. Yeah.
Maybe it's just good to set a time now.
Set a time now? Start at 2. Let's do 1 hour. 1 hour break. 1 hour break. The Assembly Working Group came together to re-establish the program a little bit. And I've just posted it on the screen. And we've had a great morning, where we worked really, really, really hard on the recommendations. This is democracy, I love it. And I really love that you've had the opportunity to discuss and to really share your opinions. And I hope that everybody can still see where the other is coming from. I think it is the case, but if you're slightly annoyed by a person, just remember where they're coming from. And now we're gonna go back. So we've written the recommendations. We get episode 1, which is okay. We're now going to go a little bit more about the practical, because this is the last session, as we repeated and repeated again, the last session before we go back into our institutions, and Prime is practically over. And what we would like you to do now is to take a walk with the trio you made this, or the group that you made the selfie with yesterday, and discuss, what do I need, what do I wish, and what can I do? And the reason why you should discuss this question is that they're going to go on the bridge towards Prime Utopia, and then we will come back, we will discuss that. And so what can I do is about, hey, what can I do within my institutions? What can I do personally? What do I want to do to take it forward? We already talked a little bit about it when we had the reflective meeting, like, is there Erasmus funding? Do we want to connect socially? There are some questions like that. What do I want to do within the institution? And the question, what do I need, has to do with also what we're doing in addition to the recommendation. So the Assembly Working Group and the Editorial Board, so basically the people behind the Prime organizations, they make the information brief, we will gather your recommendations and put it together. And we of course have the website, so we have material to share at the end of the project, to show the results, but also as a kind of guide for other people that might want to engage with power relations, or for you if you want to engage with power relations in your own institution. So the question about what do I need is actually a question from us, the Assembly Working Group, to you as participants. Next to the recommendations, what else would you need on a website or in a publication? Like, what would be useful for you, that if you go back to your institutions to work on power relations? We're going to probably combine some of the exercises that we've done during the assemblies and put them somewhere so that you can use them and apply them to your own institution. This is an example. Maybe there's something else that we can do. Maybe it's the glossary, or maybe it's, I don't know what. Like, we can imagine it, but you can tell us what you would need in order to bring power relations forward. So that's the first question. So what do I need? So basically, I mean, we have a scenario for that. So so right now we're going to leave the building. You find the people that is from the same group as yesterday, more or less, and then you get a group of post-it notes from Jesus. One is, a few are green and a few are pink, and on each of these you write what do I need or what can I do. I mean, you write the answer to that, a possible answer. And then when we come back here at 3 will start talking again, so please make sure that you're a little bit back before. You put your post-its on the bridge, and then together with what you need and what you can do, we have built a bridge to Utopia, and then we'll discuss it together. It's a nice metaphor, and it's a cool exercise, and you'll get a chance to go to the Trevi Fountain. Because if you walk towards the fountain, it's not obligatory, but if you want to go there anyway, there may be a third question that you want to do. What do I wish? And then you can do the traditional coin and throw it over your shoulder, and then perhaps your wish will come true. So this is the exercise. We'll meet again at 3 here, and then we start talking. So I hope that by then you will have both your post-its on the bridge, and we'll also discuss them then again in plenary to see what you've all come up with. Did I miss anything? I'm just looking at my group. Doing now?
There are 5 sticks, green ones, 5 green and 5...
Oh yeah, so there are 5 green ones and 5 red ones.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Make it big.
Make it big, yeah. And
everyone's...
have fun, enjoy the sun, maybe some ice cream and coffee, and we'll see you back at 3. So it's going to wait of course. More skills, more training, support and commitment from the management, to the management. Accountability, transparency, empathy, cooperation.
So we have a lot of ideas here. Does anyone want to jump in and say, so I bet it was wonderful walking in the sun. and thinking about what you need and what you can do. So we're going to start by Esther having just reading off some of the green post-its you've put up and see if that rings a bell or makes you want to say, oh yes, I want to do that, or that's me, or whatever. So Esther.
Yes, I'll do that. So what I see here is a neutral and fair judging, grading exams and competitions. That's a big.
Can you say that slowly again? A neutral
and fair judging, grading in exams and competitions. Fair gender treatment among teachers. Balance negative and positive aspects and feedback. Provide safe spaces for teachers and students to talk about what they live inside institutions. This one gets a little bit more concrete, which is nice, so we can actually do that. It's post recommendations online. We certainly will. Fair and kind treatment from teachers, friendliness, empathy, and encouragement. To share prime ideas into my faculty. Report on progress in legislation from AC. I think it's an interesting ask. We need to respect each other, definitely. Clear, presentable material. More inspiring exchange with colleagues. Workshops for professors and heads of the departments to acknowledge power imbalance. Those are a few: cooperation, funding, a listening ear, a crystal ball, cooperation and funding for consultancy, for student support, for external employees and adaptations. I don't know what needs to be adopted, but adaptations. Glossary of terms in each language. More skills, more training, support and commitment from the management to the management. Accountability, transparency, empathy, cooperation.
So we have a lot of ideas here. Does anyone want to jump in and say, oh, this is what I could do after what I've listened to? Does something ring a bell? Would you like to comment? I'm not voting on this. I hear that there are a lot of post-its that have to do with a way of being, so that this is really not just about having policies, but it's also how you act with empathy and listening, all these qualities that we've exercised. But I also hear very concrete things where people say, engaging in a kind of prime process or discussion with my colleagues. How might that happen? Many of you are probably doing it already, or with fellow students. How would you, or posting online? What would you post online? Yes, Louisa.
I wrote the posting recommendations online with the sense. Oh, I'm sorry. Yeah.
Okay. I wrote the post recommendations online because I think it would be nice to have like a kind of a very simple website to that we all can access, and that also people from outside of this assembly can access, where we have just a short, precise collection of the recommendations that gives us material to show to the heads of our institutions, to other students, to, I don't know, staff members. And maybe it would also be nice to have a blog section on that website, where then we can post progress we're making at our institutions. You know, like, for example, one of our group members said that they already implemented some workshops at their institution that were inspired by the Prime project. And I think that's something really nice to post in that blog section, so we can like gather ideas, you know, maybe inspire each other. So it's not forgotten.
That's great. Does anyone want to speak to Louisa's suggestion? You like this idea?
Yeah, we do have the Prime website.
There is a Prime website.
Okay, there is one. And I mean,
but I think it's,
dissemination needs to happen a little more.
you have to go on the AEC website to get to
Okay,
it.
yeah, maybe it's nice to have our own little thing, you know, and just with the recommendations, like easy.
Yeah, thanks for the suggestion. Yeah. Yeah, the recordings and the recommendations will be online in any case. For a transparent process. Yeah.
Any other comments about this? We had a comment about a glossary. Carolina, do you want to speak a little bit about the glossary comment?
So I don't know what the comment exactly is, but if you would like to help us, glossary. So if you would like to help us build a glossary connected to power relations, connected to what we have spoken during the assemblies, please do so. And maybe we have an idea how to do that. Maybe we can write something to everyone. And if someone would like to join and help us, that would be highly.
Are there people here interested in helping with the glossaries? Yeah.
Enthusiasm is so great. But actually, the question is, if we need the glossary, because of course there are many glossary throughout the net, connected to gender, connected to. All right. So if we need something else, if you need something else, just let us know. Okay? Maybe later on through Slack or we can organize that and maybe work a little bit more about that.
Yeah, definitely. Yeah, maybe with translations like we did for the gender glossary, I think that's also nice.
So very concretely, what can you do now? Without having Esther necessarily read everything off, can I just ask for people to share what they, now thinking for themselves, say, what can I do? Yes, Colin. Keep the conversation going.
Yes.
Yes.
I just wanted to say that Zagreb is the institution that already did some things, and we plan on continuing doing workshops for the students, meetings with the students and the staff and teachers who are interested in knowing more about Prime and know all the topics related to power relations. Because we discovered that this is a pretty hot topic in Zagreb and everybody has something to say about it. So we plan on continuing meeting between us, and we created a sort of nucleus around which certain activities happen. We do not do it with, a huge amount of money or anything. We just try to do it with our own resources, with our time and places we have on our disposition. So this is something that we will definitely continue.
Great. Great.
Just one thing, we did sort of 2 workshops so far, and we didn't get hugely responsive, amount of people, but distinctly 2 different group of students showed up, which means that the word has spread through the students' population. So the basis of everything we feel, at least in Zagreb, is patience. So we need to do it very slowly, and our management is not very forthcoming and not very helpful, but we are distant anyway. So we still try to do it very quietly, but the word has spread. So that's the
great.
first step. Yeah.
I think that these are really important,
Yes, and one more thing, if I may, without Moita, it would all be impossible. So these 2 are actually what the motor behind it all. Thank you very much.
We're here. So do we have other examples of what you think you'd like to do now, or you feel sort of inspired, or are you going to move this forward? Yes.
I ask myself what I can do, and the first step is maybe that I can send an email message to all of my students to ask them, just ask them if they have any need to, that we can help them with, or a special need, and then assure them that I will take care of it as an admin staff. And the second one is that I'm able to make some research about other institutions and maybe foundations that have workshops about diversity or special needs, and then maybe we can work together or collaborate to make something great. So what I can do by myself is research and collect information about needs.
Great. Any other? We hear from, so we've heard from Zagreb, we've heard from Krakow, we've heard from Dublin and Mannheim. Yeah.
Yeah, I'm going to discuss this particular idea about having a student member during discussions, like observer. I want to discuss it first with my younger colleagues, teachers and PhD students, because we call it committee of member of young scientists, but actually there are PhD students, post PhD, and teachers who are not older than 35 years old. So yes, when we have next meeting in the end of February, I think, I'm going to present this idea and to discuss this, and then we will see, because we can, our chief member can then present this idea further to the university committee who takes decisions, so we will see. I'm actually very curious about what can come from this idea.
That's terrific, terrific. I'm just looking. San Sebastian? Does anybody want to speak? No? Yes?
I agree with Colin, keep the conversation going. I will try to have a permanent group, a working group in our institution to keep this project and this idea alive with realistic goals and maybe small, but keep getting achievements and keep working on it.
Great. Does anyone want to say something from Malmö? I don't know.
I mean, I think we will work on different areas. We have a lot of ideas for different areas what we want to develop and action and somehow. So yeah, there's a lot of things we can do.
Great. St. Louis.
I think that the idea to create workshops to give back to the institution and to the students and to all the staff of our institute. Yes, this could be a great idea for us. So, from Zagreb, are you from Zagreb? Yes. We would be glad to come to you. Yes, please teach us how to do that. Because this has been my dream since I met Pride and Gretchen. I'm very thankful for what you've done for all of us. My project to teach me has changed because of this. I've been shaped by this. So, thank you. So please tell us how to do that, because I wanted other people to participate in the experience that we have.
Louisa, does anybody else from Mannheim want to speak? No?
It works.
Well, I think we implemented already different things, and I have the feeling that we're on a good path, but this still means that there are still things that we learn and change, and I just hope that we will keep the spirit for supporting our students in helping to reach their goal and to support our students in where they want to go to, and that we keep the open mind for being open for changing things if there's something going wrong or it could be better. So this is what I hope for us, for all of us, for sure. Not only for us.
Yeah. Does anybody from Dublin want to add to what the idea of keep the conversation going? No. You don't. You're not. I'm not trying to put you on the spot. I'm just inviting comments. Are there any more comments from Kaka? Okay, well, I think this is already quite a lot. And what we see is that we have people we can learn from. So, we have our colleagues in Zagreb who can say, yeah, this is what we tried, and this worked better than that, and this is what our experience is. And we have people who are looking at what the other opportunities are to collaborate. Does somebody from Graz want to say something?
Well, we actually had several activities in our university informing students, giving them the chance to know, to make them curious what is possible. And as we have Constanze in our team, I'm pretty sure that will continue upside down and from down to up as it began.
Yeah.
So I think we are on a good way.
Yes, I think this is a big question about whether things have to just come from top down or how they can bubble up from the bottom, and this is a little bit what Zagreb is talking about. Anya?
I suppose something that's already been implemented in Dublin is Lindsay Callahan, who was a member in San Sebastian as well. She and I and Megan, we all made a PowerPoint presentation that was presented to the Board of Studies, so all the heads of faculty in our college were informed, and it was really nice seeing the interest, like genuine interest on several of the topics. And Lindsay Callahan also has implemented that all teaching staff are supposed to get LGBTQ awareness workshops by an external company, because there are so many slightly older staff members that wouldn't understand at all what LGBTQ even means. Be it transgender, be it bisexual. So that's
so sharing the information you've learned with people in positions of power. I think this is quite a lot.
Yeah, maybe I can say something from the perspective of the assembly working group, so that when we still have, well, this is the last meeting for you, and we have still one more meeting to go in March in Mannheim, and then we'll try to put our work together, our recommendations online. We'll also translate the exercises that we've done and make them available for you, that if you decide to do a workshop, you can learn from Zagreb, but maybe also from things that we've done here. And maybe there's some things that come up still that you think, oh, maybe we've done that, or we've pointed at that you think that it's also useful for us to share with you, that may be useful to you. And what I'm also hearing, I'm not sure whether you briefly mentioned, but throughout these assemblies, we've kind of, with thinking about utopian thinking, right? We've kind of diagnosed the problems. Now recommendations to so we're suggesting alternatives quite literally. And I think this bridge that we're trying to build is this last step. So kind of getting concretely like, hey, what are steps or action, or how I can create the environment, the system in which I can really suggest changes. And we want to help you do that. And we're also really curious to what you've already done, because I think together on the journey, we've all become smarter in a way, better equipped, just because of the things we've tried out.
I would be really curious, just because from my own perception, the fact that this is such a broad-based group geographically. You all live in very different situations and institutions. What do you take back from this encounter with people from across Europe in different institutions? Does anybody want to speak to that? Bravo.
Yeah, so first of all, I think it's the emotional time of saying thank you and how much we like each other and so on. So I will start with that. And I would like to say that it was a great experience, and me and I think our team from Poland has learned a lot from each other, and we all probably has learned a lot from each other. Firstly, we were surprised how many things that we discussed here actually are working in our institution, and then we learned a lot of things that must be changed, and I think this is after these 2 years already we have established some system of working that might develop, and as you said, we just addressed the issues, and now it's a long journey to change them. But at the end of this speech, I would love to invite all of you to visit our city. Krakow is an amazing place to be. Poland is an amazing place to be. And I think that we still all have some old thinking about the places we come from. So we should all visit each other. So I think we should run Prime 2 that will be more social-based issue. Traveling from place to place and see each other's cities and experience each other institutions, and then get to know how practically this, what we were discussing, works.
You're here. Thank you. Thank you, Pavel. Are there any other comments? Yeah?
With Prime, I take more conscience. I have conscience, but I think more that finally it's very important to be authentic, because when we are authentic, totally authentic, we can trust in ourselves, so we are able to communicate more clearly. We can be respected more and respect more the others, and it's more easy to work, to be good with a teacher and other students, and it's more easy to play in public, with public in audition, in examen, for the examens, and it's more easy to
affirm oneself.
Yes, with our life, our orientation.
So it's empowering. That's basically.
Yes.
We very much hope that this has been an empowering process. It's been, certainly has been. Any other comments?
I would like to thanks to Musikhochschulen to have thought to me, because it's an experience very amazing for me. And thanks for all of you.
Any other comments?
Okay, so first, most important thing about this project, I think, is people. Meeting people from different places with different experience, and sharing this experience. Some moments I can like, some moments maybe are weird or unusual for me, but even knowing about this, and just thinking about this really helps. And also during our assemblies, we made a lot of practical exercises and I found all of them very interesting, and actually I think it helped me for this year and a half actually to formulate even what I'm wanting to say better. Yeah, because speaking a foreign language, it's people from different backgrounds, different cultures, and to make this understandable for them, it really helped me to express my opinion better. And yeah, the second very important thing is ideas. A lot of ideas we have discussed, and I don't think that it's very utopical to think that it's possible to make all of them true. But even if we can take one or two and try to go further with them in our institutions, then it's, I think, great result already. And maybe later one more. Yes. And also it was very, very nice last two meetings in San Sebastian and here to have it real life, yeah, to see these beautiful cities and also meeting people live, because we are after all social animals, yeah, and interaction means a lot for us. Yeah.
Totally.
So, yeah.
Thank you, Alessandra.
It's very good to have.
Okay, one more comment, and then we're going to have a photo opportunity.
I just want to say that I think for many of us, I know that it was the case for me, this project has been kind of the answer for all the prayers. Because I think a lot of us have been experiencing many things that we've been talking about and having these ideas of what should be changed and how would we like for this utopia of higher music education to work. But somehow everybody has been having these thoughts and ideas, but the fact that somebody had a very concrete idea to make it into an actual project, I think is absolutely fabulous, and I'm very grateful for that. And I also wanted to say that I found the way that this project has been organized and done very, very impressive, and I've had a very, very positive experience, not only meeting everybody and having these conversations, but the way that it's been organized and thought through. I saw a lot of care and dedication there, and a lot of hard work. And I appreciate that a lot. And it's made the whole experience just that much more great. So that's my whole thank you.
Thank you. I would just say that this project is nothing without you. And you made this project happen. I mean, we had this fabulous assembly working group and the editorial board supporting, but you know, you can have all the great ideas in the world, but if people are not participating and they don't care, then it's not going anywhere. And everybody has invested in this project and brought what they care about and what they know to the table, and that's what's made it so precious. So without further ado, we are going to have a little photo moment. And I'm going to invite you to go downstairs, and then we will come back and close out this final assembly.
Yeah, so we're going to go into the courtyard, and then we're going to get our picture taken from above, from the balcony.
So by way of reminder, our initial question was, how can we improve the higher music education institution environment by suggesting ways to deal with, within our institutions, what standards are realistic to set to achieve a safer and more supportive environment in higher music education. So we started with Assembly 1. We were looking at power relations, and where we had 5, we strongly recommend networks of care, fostering dialogue, all the things that you have mentioned even this afternoon. And in fact, what's really powerful is that these themes that you came up with in that first assembly keep coming back, which suggests that they were really on the right track. So that was Assembly 1. Then coming into Assembly 2, we have 5 recommendations, which we've gone through again this morning and come to closure on those recommendations. Once again, about safe spaces and comprehensive policies and balance. The word balance has come up. Information and
Here, I still need to do some cleaning up.
And then when we come to the third assembly, we have 4 recommendations. And I think that we had a lot of discussion about this too. I think you can be really proud of what you've achieved there. And then today, my God, in 24 hours, here we are. Artistic standards, all the questions that we took looking at the very precise subject of assessment, which is really the crux of the matter. There's a lot that goes into assessment. But the way in which we did this and the way in which we came to agreement, I think is just really powerful. So, bravo, and thank you. And I'm very lucky because I don't represent any institution, so I can just say whatever I want. And so I'm going to say that I am really impressed, and I am so deeply grateful to have met each and every one of you and to have participated in this journey. But there are people who really made the journey happen. And I'd like to thank Deborah Kelleher from Dublin for impulsing this and coordinating the funding request. That's huge, huge. I'd like to thank Ankna, who has come and listened to us and with good cheer and even sometimes participated, even though she's not supposed to, as external evaluator. And we are looking forward to hearing what Ankna will share about as evaluator. Thank you for your... Esther is a champion. Esther Hess, who's the chair of the Assembly Working Group, and each of the members of the Assembly Working Group. I don't want to forget Megan, who had to leave after the third assembly, but who is still with us in our hearts. Jesus, Lasse, Anna, Constanza,
Carolina.
Oh, Carolina. Thank you. And now we have also to thank the editorial board. We can't thank them in person, but they found resources that proved to be really indispensable and experts who were really also informed our journey. So now we have a really nice feel-good moment where we are going to share the messages, the secret Valentines you have all received.
Oh my.
How do we do it?
I see some people frowning because they're still frantically writing.
Yeah.
I think you're allowed to also give this message in person. People can add it to their own envelope, but yeah. And we hope that you'll go home with a nice envelope full of thoughtful comments, maybe some promises or thoughts for the future to meet each other or to otherwise stay in touch. And now that I have the mic anyway, I'm going to thank Gretchen for a wonderful chairing and for leading this, for this process. Such an experienced and also neutral chair that wasn't involved with any in the institutions was so important to us, and I think we found such a good person with Gretchen because she knows everyone's experience. She can talk to leadership. She can lead us in a neutral way. She can work with an annoying 30-year-old, which is me. And and it's been wonderful to work with her. So thanks to Gretchen.